Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. I am your host, Noah Njapao. Doc sends his apologies and unable to join us tonight. Our guest tonight is someone we promised we were going to bring back. And I'm sure looking at the topic, we can guess who it is. An agronomist, an author, an agri-motivator, and some people might call him, or a lot of people call him Mr. Tomato. I would actually want to ask why that is. So our guest tonight is Mr. Eric K. MWENDA. Welcome, Mr. MWENDA.
Thank you so much, Mr. Japao, and it's my pleasure being here again today.
Our topic tonight is the benefits of value addition to agricultural products. But as per tradition, before we go into our discussion, let's look at a few things on the market. Let's look at the market update. So the market update today as of the 7th of July, 2022. Let's look at how the kwacha is faring against the four major currencies. So the dollar is selling at 16 kwacha, 32 ngwe. The pound is selling at 19 kwacha, 51 ngwe. The euro is selling at 16 kwacha, 16 ngwe. The rand is selling at 97 ngwe. Selected metal prices delayed by a day. Aluminium closed off selling at $2,409.50 per ton. Copper closed off selling at $7,520.50. Zinc closed off selling at $2,998. Lead closed off selling at $1,969. Tin closed off selling at $24,712. Nickel closed off selling at $21,849. Crude oil prices, WTI crude closed off selling at $103.06. Brent crude closed off selling at $105.04. So we've seen the kwacha performing very well. I'm sure this is due to interventions by the Bank of Zambia on the FX market. And we've seen the copper price going down, which is not a good indicator for us as a copper producer. So today we're discussing the benefits of value addition to agricultural products. Mr. Eric MWENDA, welcome once more.
Thank you very much, Mr. Japao.
I know there are certain people who might not know who you are because maybe it's the first time watching the program. Okay. So maybe just briefly a breakdown about who Eric K. MWENDA is and
well, I'm an agronomist by profession, and my name's Eric K. MWENDA. I've been in the industry for about 25 years now, dealing with farmers across Africa and of course the world. I think it has been a very good journey. Currently, I'm the head of Vegetable Business Unity for Seedco Zambia. Of course, I'm working with different countries in Southern Africa, DRC, Angola, and of course, our neighboring countries, Zimbabwe, Malawi, also they're also on the list. So I think, in a nutshell, that's Eric K. MWENDA, and I think I'm very passionate about agriculture. And of course, along the line of this career development, I've found myself, well, to be called Mr. Tomato.
Oh, yeah.
So the name Mr. Tomato did not just come by accident. It's a name that came after a long journey of working with farmers, of course, on the tomato business, growing tomatoes. We've got different people growing tomatoes from different angles of our continent. And I think most of them have got serious challenges of how they can actually make this business as a very serious business. And that's where Eric K. MWENDA comes in to actually help them to see value in this particular crop. Of course, with the ups and downs going around the crop, but I think it's one of the crops that can actually change people's lives.
Okay, so you're also an author. You've authored a book. What's the title of that book, and what is it about?
Yeah, so the book is called Be a Farmer, Be a Millionaire, and I think that book came about because of trying to see what best I would offer to the world. And I think in terms of the details of the book, basically it's to uplift people's lives. First of all, for them to understand that agriculture is a very good business, but then it also requires certain things that they need to understand. So it talks about certain profiles of some emergent farmers or farmers that actually started from the scratch. Usually I like using the word from zero to hero. They started from zero, but today they are heroes in their business. So basically, it just gives a journey of how someone can start from the scratch to where they're supposed to be in the future, and it also gives some of the technicalities that are involved, because I mean there's what is called the software and the hardware when we're getting into farming. So it also has the software part of it, where someone needs to understand the principles of getting into agriculture, and of course how they can present themselves out there into the market so that they make this business a sustainable business for today and for tomorrow. So that book, Be a Farmer, Be a Millionaire, it actually gives a step-by-step guidance on how you can take this journey going forward.
Okay, so if there's anyone out there who would want to get their hands on a copy, where can they find, where can they buy this book?
Currently, we are still talking to some, the bookstores around the country, and of course around Africa. There are different organizations that have expressed interest. Of course, as you may know, it is yet to be launched.
Oh,
so
okay. It's not yet launched?
No. It's yet to be launched. So I think it's from the time of it being launched, that's when we'll have different houses having it, in their stores.
Okay, wonderful,
Sure.
Wonderful. So before we dive into our topic, we're going to open the phone lines a bit later, so you can call us using the numbers scrolling down on your screen. We shall open the phone lines a bit later. You can also send us messages on the same numbers. So, Mr. MWENDA.
Yes, sir.
Break down value addition in agricultural products. There's some people out there that might not really understand what we mean by value addition.
So first of all, I would describe value addition in a way that even a layman must really understand. I think what is key is that you are actually turning around the same product from this stage to the other stage. So what that means is that when you are adding value to something, it means that you are trying to upgrade it from this level to the other level. So in simpler terms, I would give, for example, we've got situations like milk, the fresh milk that we get from our dairy animals. So when we're getting the fresh milk from the dairy animals, it means that fresh is raw, it's just fresh. And if you get that milk and take it to the market, for example, most of our farmers do that. You find that they have got different selling points where they take their fresh milk and they'll sell per liter. So they would say maybe it's going at 6 kwacha a liter, 4 kwacha a liter, 5 kwacha a liter, things like that. So it means that they are selling it in its raw form. But then you realize that when you take that milk and take it through a process to change it into, for example, cheese, sometimes you change it into maybe sour milk, things like that. So it changes its form from the original form into another form where the value has been added. But then, talking about value addition, we're also talking about prolonging the life, the lifespan or the shelf life. In short, you're actually prolonging the shelf life of that particular product. So when you get the milk and take it into having cheese, for example, it means that 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 particular product can actually stay for a longer period of time. And then apart from that, the face value or the actual price that you sell that particular product was slightly higher than the original price when you sold the fresh milk. And apart from that, we also have powdered milk. You've seen 200 grams, 250 grams going as much as 300 kwacha, 400 kwacha. I mean, when you look at the quantity of milk that made the powder, you'll be amazed. It's just very few meals of it that's going into that. So we want to encourage our farmers, that are getting into farming this time around. We're actually telling them that farming is not just about selling the raw materials. For example, we've seen, it's actually a cry or something that can make someone cry when you see a lot of farmers every year they are waiting for the floor price of maize on the Zambian market. So you find a lot of farmers waiting for the price, and then the next day they are told that the price is like this. You see a lot of updates on social media, on radio saying, the price is very low. How do you give us this price? So a lot of farmers in our country have been crying over the same price of maize as just selling it just like that. But then we want our farmers now to turn that maize, the commercial maize that they have, they can actually turn it into, flakes, like cornflakes, like maize meal. There's so many things that really can make out of the maize. And I think the other day I was amazed, in Namibia, where I saw, a packet of, what they are calling maheo, your maheo, that traditional drink that we make in our country, Zambia. It was so amazing that I saw the maheo in Namibia in a very nice label, and the major ingredient there was maize. And when you looked at that particular packet, I think it was about a liter. It was costing about 80 kwacha. And I saw that of course, coming from Namibia, I saw it in Sioma, in Western Province. Mm-hmm. And this is a rural area, and you are finding that particular, bottle in a rural shop sold by a rural person. But then you look at the price of 80 kwacha, and then you look at just that bottle, what goes in there. And I mean, I don't think that was a bag of mini meal. I mean, a bag of maize that is being sold, 50 kg, that is being sold at 250 and things like that. Just a few grains that are used to make that bottle. And you look at the value and the amount of money that people have, and you see, even when you put it on the shelf, you're able to keep it for some time. Mm-hmm. And so you see that when you are adding value to a product, you are actually, make it more profitable. Your business becomes more profitable. I've seen, even a lot of farmers that are keeping pigs, for example. Some of them now they are making sausage out of pork sausage. Some of them, they've got this Hungarian, whatever they call it. So different types of products that can be made from there. But when you look at one sausage that we buy from the takeaway shops, how much that it cost? It's more than 15 kwacha, 20 kwacha, and when they add another value-added product, the potatoes, which you are calling chips, when you add the chips to that, I mean, you buy at 30 kwacha, 40 kwacha and 50 kwacha. Mm-hmm. And so you look at 40 kwacha and 50 kwacha, count the number of those strings of, the potato chips, so to say. If you count them, even one potato will not be enough, or maybe one potato can actually make that. And for your own information, just one plant of potato can give you about 18 big potatoes. 18 of them, just one plant. 18 of them. Now imagine how many plates are those, and how many chips will come out of there. You just find that from one plant you go up to 500 kwacha that you can make. So farmers need to realize that they can actually make more money from value addition. It's not just something that most people have actually come to realize that they can actually make money out of it, because I think there's less education out there. But I think this platform, thank you to Camnet TV, we are able to give the information to the farmer to say, people, let's get into this. For example, I mean, we've seen a lot of tomatoes rotting, at our main Soweto market in Lusaka. Exactly. And this is the big market. We've got millions and millions of tomatoes rotting because the farmers failed to sell their produce. Now, imagine if you get that tomato and take it into tomato paste, tomato puree. There are all these products, even tomato powder for that matter. And you don't need, expensive materials or expensive equipment.
Even frozen vegetables.
Even frozen vegetables. We've seen them frozen vegetables made out of South Africa, frozen vegetables made of this country.
Meanwhile, we have our
own. But we have our own rotting in our own ground. But imagine, just just a few of those fresh, I mean, the one that they have dried, you just put in a small pack, you find it's costing 25, 30 kwacha. And it's less than 100 grams. Maybe they'll say 10 grams costing that much. Now look at that. I mean, even just getting the fresh tomatoes, for example, and put them in a very nice, you know, those plates, the plastic plates.
Oh, okay.
And then you get a nice plastic and cover it and just get your branding and put it there. Just a small branding of paper that you put on top to say, this is the fresh tomato coming from so-so. You put all your details there. That in itself, you can have 5 tomatoes costing quite a lot of money. So this is the kind of thing that we really need to start developing. We don't need to have complicated, you know, equipment to say no until when we have money, when we get money from CDF, we get money from that. People have got a headache trying to prepare business plans. And at the end of the day, they are only rejected to say, no, there was this part which was missing, and then from there, they just abandon farming. But, you know, someone who used their brains and they just, you know, got just a few things.
And that is
they're making it. Just some packaging to it.
I think the understanding of agriculture is just grow, sell. A lot of people maybe don't understand that agribusiness is a bit broad in the sense that there would be someone growing, someone processing, and someone maybe exporting or...
Yes, actually, you see, Mr. Japao, it's actually a value chain, and the chain is very long. There are certain people, they're not farmers. You know, here in Zambia, of course, I like giving the example of the main Soweto market, where we've got agents, you know, we've got market agents. In our country, it's not very well developed, but countries like Kenya and other countries, they call them brokers. These are very serious business people. So what they do is that when you get to the market, you don't even see a grower. You can't even know a grower. The only person you know is a broker. Because the broker now is the one that gets the produce. Actually, what they do, the brokers, they actually go to the farm, they buy the produce at the farm gate price, they come with it at the market, and now they are the one that are going to sell to the public. So what usually happens is that when these guys bring the product to the market, they add their commissions on top. Yes. And what is there? That they're not growers. They're just you know, brokers. They're just in between the consumer and the grower. And at the end of the day, they even make more money out of it. Some people have even built mansions, and I know one of my relatives from my village is now building a very nice house.
They don't even know how a field looks like.
No, they don't even know how the field looks like. They just hear that, no, there are these farms and things like that. The only thing they know is that they are able to buy the produce and they exchange it with some money. So these are the guys that are actually doing it. So apart from that, we've got people that now to process the produce. So we've got some different companies. You know, of course, I think we've seen some tomato juice, some tomato paste here and there. You know, like chili, they have mixed with garlic and things like that. Now imagine you've grown your crop and the next thing that you do, you take it for processing. So you find that just one bottle of processed chili and garlic combination, that costs a lot of money. We spend quite a lot of money when we get into, we buy these things from our supermarkets.
But is it the lack of machinery or to process these products, or it's maybe lack of education when it comes to?
I think we need.
Agriculture.
I think we need more education, because I think even our schools, I mean the universities of agriculture, the colleges of agriculture, I think they need to make this as a very serious topic in schools. It's a very, very important aspect, because we don't want our farmers to just be thinking that agriculture is just growing a crop and then you sell it in its raw form. That's not the case. We need to have a situation where we know to say, when you produce, for example, I mean, recently I was in Zimbabwe, Harare, you know, where we were invited to, you know, just go and do some work, you know, under SIDCO. But I think it was something that was very interesting, where, you know, some company brought in, you know, value-added product of sweet potatoes. I saw a sweet potato juice.
Oh, okay.
Imagine, you know, here in Zambia, when we say kandolo, everyone is laughing at kandolo. No, eating kandolo.
Tomato juice.
Yeah, I mean,
not very popular.
Yeah, not very popular. Even tomato juice is there. We've got that kandolo drink, you know, the sweet potato drink. And apart from that, they have even made chips out of the same sweet potato. And apart from that, they are making flour out of the same sweet potato. So there are different products made just out of the sweet potato. But you find that when you are traveling, like for example, going to Eastern Province, somewhere after Petauke or somewhere there, you see a lot of farmers just selling the actual kandolo, the sweet potato in its raw form. But when you get that kandolo and just chop off a few of those and that's even just fry them. You find that it costs quite a good lot of money.
Supplementary for instead of having potato chips, you can
have the sweet potato chips. Yes. I mean, we need to be seeing that in one of these big supermarkets where, the big restaurants where you can have chips made out of sweet potato. But we need some people now to understand that they can actually do it that way, because I think value addition gives more than 100% of someone's profit when they are doing it that way. Because again, the other thing is that, sometimes even the tomato paste, for example, you find that it's just a small one like this, maybe 10 grams or something like that, is costing 25 kwacha. Now, look at, how many tomatoes made that paste? Maybe it is even half of a tomato.
Yes.
But you find that for you to actually, our farmers here are used to just be selling the whole box of tomato at 100 kwacha.
And when it's evening, some
of it disposed of because they grow a different variety which didn't last long. The shelf life was very short. And apart from that, it will start rotting. And the next thing they will do is they will sell you the whole box at 10 kwacha, 15 kwacha. Sometimes they will just give it away. And most of it, they throw it away.
Tomato, chop it up, freeze it.
They can freeze it and they sell it in packs. Sometimes even drying it, they can even make a tomato powder out of it. As simple as that. So there are quite a number of products. And then from there, when you make your tomato powder, you can actually go an extra mile by getting a barcode and also getting a nice packaging and start packaging your tomato powder in that particular package. And you find that even the chain stores, just go to the chain stores, make a proper,
so that's what they ask for. They ask, is it packaged? Does it have a barcode?
The barcode, and even just the way it appears. How does it look like? Because in our country, sorry to say, we've got some entrepreneurs that think they can make it in these supermarkets where they make sometimes we use the word mumbo product. Chipante pante product, where you look at the product, you compare it with something from another country. When you compare them on one-to-one, you'll be wondering what is happening. People don't have the knowledge. So this is why we can't blame them much, but we just need to give them more information so that they will be able to make more money, or actually,
improve on their
products and actually improve the way they are doing their farming business and generally even any other business that they want to do. So it's very, very important that we need to take this very seriously. And when we do that, you find that our economies are really going to change.
But mostly we find that, let's talk about the chain stores. They'll always ask, do you have the capacity? And it seems that most of our farmers, even the people who process agricultural products, don't really have the capacity to supply most of these chain stores.
Yeah, it's very true.
Supply maybe once, twice, then
afterwards they're nowhere to be seen. I think that has been a big problem, and this is the reason why we are advising our farmers to form some cooperatives. But I think people are not very much used to working together, so this really brings a big problem, because at the end of the day, as an individual, you may not manage to supply the quantities that are required because they are huge and you're supposed to supply them consistently. So if you can't work on your own, you are better off just working in in a group. Maybe you come in a group of farmers, maybe in an area you come and group yourselves as farmers. Probably you'll be 10 or 20, and you decide on a crop and you say, okay, these are the quantities that we're going to grow. And then from there, you approach the chain store to say, we'll be able to supply this quantity at a given period of time. So what will happen is that when you come together, first of all, you need to acquire knowledge on what type of crop you're going to grow. And then apart from that, just the general management and everything else about the thing that you're going to grow. And even value addition, get more knowledge about value addition. What is it that you can do that you can actually make out of the product that you have made, from the raw form into a form that that would have been added value to it, and then also it will also cost more money when you sell it like that. So we need people to come together for them to achieve that, because a few individuals here and there, they will manage to do that, but the majority of our people are not able to do that. And this is the reason why we've got inconsistencies that are happening in the chain stores business.
I've always asked that, what stops farmers, let's say maybe Mumbwa, coming together and perhaps purchasing hammer mills, industrial hammer mills, and
Yes.
Packaging their own mealie meal, and actually instead of selling it even on our local market and exporting
it to countries like Congo,
yes.
You know, countries like Angola. You know, in Angola, one friend of mine was telling me to say that you know, one bag of mealie meal was costing something like 600 kwacha. In terms of kwacha, you know, it's quite a huge amount. And but you know, our farmers need to come together. It's very, very important, because you see, when you look at a place like Mumba, we know it at a place where a lot of farmers are actually growing maize. Southern province, a lot of farmers are growing maize. Eastern province, a lot of them are growing maize. But then they need to go an extra mile. They can actually come together, form this particular cooperative, you know, put their resources together and start, you know, buying equipment. I mean, right now, even, you know, we've got local companies, I think a lot of them that are actually manufacturing, you know, some of these particular products. And of course, even other hardware stores, they started stocking up, you know, some of these manufactured, you know, equipment and all that. So it's important that the farmers can come together, put their resources together and actually purchase, you know, one of those machines and start adding value to their products. That way, I think our country is really going to go very far. We've got, you know, certain farmers, for example, in South Africa, you know, just visit one farmer there, you know, just a family farm where they've added value to their product. They're into dairy farming. They're making cheese. They're making milk in those, you know, the pouches and things like that. It's just a small scale farmer, just one. A small scale farmer, family coming to just like that. It's the wife, the husband, and the children, and they're just doing it like that. One farmer was actually doing, it was actually in goat farming, and from goat farming they were even having dairy milk, you know, from goat, and then they were actually packaging it, and they were also making cheese from goat. They were actually making quite a number of products from just the goat. But these are just families just coming out like that. So we need to see such kind of things happening here at a larger scale in our country.
And perhaps we can see the price of cheese and polony go
down. Of course.
Because of our local farmers.
Yes, massive production by our own farmers. And this is the reason why these things are very expensive. The other time I was buying biltong in one of these countries, I was shocked. I bought something like this at the equivalent of 80 kwacha. It was a big biltong like this. It's a big pack like that. I think that was said to have been about a kg, less than 100 kwacha. Here in our country, it's like this, going for 30 kwacha, 40 kwacha, just like this, a few grams. So you find that again, this value addition, it also depends on the places and what we can actually produce. So how many farmers that we have, for example, in Southern province, having huge, you know, heads of cattle, over 1,000, over 500, but they're just keeping them, you know, just, you know, some of them are just keeping them for prestige. Some of them can't even offload some of those to the market, and we need industries now to happen in those particular areas so that we can even have, you know, some of them exporting their beef to different countries in the world. And then we gain the much needed foreign exchange and further stabilize our currency, and our economy will actually be at a different level.
And in terms of policy in our agricultural sector, which areas would you think needs refining or policy change?
Very interesting. I think in terms of policy change, we need, first of all, it's the marketing aspect in terms of the produce. You see, like, for example, you have that, you know, the pricing of the maize, for example, to say, when you produce your maize, you have to sell at this price. You see, so we need to have a change in that where, you know, instead of just having support on one particular product, where government is now giving more support, for example, to the maize business. So apart from the maize business, there's also rice, there's also soybeans, there's all these things. So there must be that equal distribution of these resources, and also ensuring that the farmers understand. Because, I mean, even when the policies are there, for example, in our country, the majority of our farmers don't even know that these policies exist. They just find themselves at the end, you know, like just at the receiving end, they don't even know what to do. So we need some policy change in terms of how agriculture, in terms of the marketing aspect. We also need to see in the education system, we also need to see quite a number of changes in that. And apart from that, even just the external business, for example, exports. Right now, like in our country, we don't see many farmers exporting produce from here because first of all, they don't even understand, that at some point, if they produce certain quantities and qualities, they can actually supply to these different countries in the world. So we need that education so that they understand that if they get into that, certain policies now in terms of even the fees it's actually very interesting that the import and export fees are still very much favorable in our country, which is a very good thing. They don't know that, but they're very, 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 very favorable. When you get an import permit, I think, or even export permit, they can't even reach 500 kwacha. These are very, 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 very cheap. So it means such a policy is very good for our country. But again, our people need to know that there are these kind of policies that can actually help them to move to the next level. And apart from that, we also need, situations where, I'm happy that currently the Zambian government is really opening up to the world. We've got the Italian president coming into our country. We were coming to Zambia, which is a very good thing. And of course, it was very interesting to see the president actually saying that the Italian people are more than welcome to actually explore, different business opportunities. And we want those guys now to start, working with our local farmers, especially in agriculture, to ensure that there's that synergy that helps them now to understand that agriculture can be at a different level. Agriculture is not just something that we can just wake up the next day and the second day you are holding your hoe and start doing it. So I think there are quite a number of things that we can do. I think I was also happy seeing that the importation of agricultural equipment. I think I've seen very good policies coming from government through ZRA, where the tax cuts, I think that's a very, very good thing where some taxes have been cut. So it means that when you're importing something, you don't even pay the duties and the VAT, things like that. As long as you're importing a agricultural machine, it means that government has done a very good thing, because now farmers will be able to buy very expensive equipment at a very, very cheap rate here in Zambia, because the duties are very, very high.
Yeah,
so if you
optimize and automate their farming.
Of course. So if we have mechanization happening in our farms, it means that we're going to increase our production. Technology comes in. So even when they are growing their staple food, maize, they'll be able to produce more quantities and even export to different countries. So these are some of the things that at least we are happy about. But I think more needs to be done to ensure that we have free flow of things in our country.
You are watching the Economic Briefcase. We are going to go for a short break. When we come back, we're going to open the phone lines. Send us your text messages. Send us your questions, your contributions. We'll be right back.
Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned. We testify. We celebrate. For all you've done, Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Oh, for all you've done, Lord, we give you all the praise.
Welcome back. You are watching the Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. The phone lines are open. You can send us your texts, ask your questions, your contribution, and also you can give us a call on the numbers scrolling down your screen. Director, do we have any messages? Where is our local coffee? Mpundu, Tembo, Kitwe.
Nice question.
Next. Okay. So, you know, we got coffee on the northern province, huh?
Yes, actually, you know, first of all, I want to mention that in terms of coffee production in our country, I think 20 years ago, you know, we saw quite a good number of farms under coffee production. I think some of them were in southern province. Some of them, of course, we've got the northern province where coffee was being grown. But then along, you know, the line, I mean, along the way, we saw a lot of farmers now pulling out of coffee because of the issues of exchange rate, you know, in the international market where the prices were being paid in US dollars, and then our kwacha was weakening. So it was quite very difficult. I mean, it was becoming very difficult for farmers actually to make profit out of coffee production, and most of them just, you know, fell off along the way. But I think we've got farmers that have been around in the coffee, you know, coffee business. We've got Northern Coffee in Northern Province. These guys are still growing coffee, and they're doing exports as we speak. And of course, we have another white man in Southern Province. I think he has got his brand name called Mnari Coffee. You know, Zambia produces excellent coffee, very tasty coffee, very nice. But we don't see, you know, our farmers taking advantage. I mean, our people taking advantage of that. I mean, there's 10 people that come into our country and they admire. I mean, they see that, I mean, they taste our coffee. They are so happy about it.
There's also Kawambwa tea, which is very tasty tea.
Yeah, it is. But of course, they also had a bit of some challenges here and there. But I mean, so those are very good products. So we just need consistency, and then we'll be able to see this industry going forward. And then, of course, most of the coffee is even exported. I mean, we've got, like, for example, I think, sorry, we've got countries like Kenya, for example, in certain areas, in the rural areas where you are seeing small-scale farmers are actually producing coffee from their backyards. And then they have got, you know, like a system where they're taking their coffee, more or less like the way we have our system in the dairy animal business here, where farmers take their milk, it's a steady cooperative, and then it's bought and things like that. So you have systems like that where coffee is brought to a central place, and then from there they export it to different countries. And it's quite some good money, and it's foreign exchange for the country. So we need a lot of farmers to start, you know, understanding what coffee is and get into that business.
And there's also, there was a time I was out there, I saw a Zambian coffee on the shelves out there, and it's really liked.
Oh, it's really liked,
yes, yes, yes.
So I think we need just more people to have more knowledge about it so that they can actually start growing and exporting to different countries.
Director, do we have any messages? Good evening, Mr. Njapao and Mr. Mwenda. Nice program, sharing the knowledge. My questions are, why are we failing to add value to our products? Why are we failing to add value to our products such as tomatoes and sweet potatoes, which we are producing in abundance? As CITCO, have you tried to propose to GRZ on bringing industries that can process the products?
Oh, nice question.
Do we have some companies that can lease a borehole at a farm? Because most of us would want to venture into agri-business, but it needs some big capital, especially water. Jetembo, Katete.
Okay. All right. Very good questions. First of all, the first question was talking about are farmers not adding value to tomatoes and sweet potatoes. I think the biggest question there really is just about education. Because if you don't know anything, you can't do. There's nothing else that you can do about it. But we just need a deliberate movement from the farmers themselves to say, I just want to know more about value addition in these particular crops. And this is the reason why, as agronomists, we are there to provide that information to say you can actually go to these particular places. There are certain people and certain organizations that may actually be willing to give more knowledge to people that want to do value addition in tomato and sweet potatoes. And sorry to say, Sidco as a company will not really, be in a position to say to propose to government and doing that. But I think it's a company that actually work with the farmers on different, different platforms. Of course, our maize business as Sidco is basically maize, soybeans, and of course the vegetable business. But I think we are there to actually give information to these farmers to say they can actually go to these particular places and they can get more knowledge and information so that they can start, adding value to this particular produce. And then apart from that, the second question was talking about
if there are any companies that
leasing borehole. You see, when we're looking at water in our country, I think Zambia is a very big country and there are different places. For example, sometimes you may just be in one place thinking that there is no water, but when you just ask more questions, even in the villages where we come from, you find that there's too much water, so many rivers are there. Sometimes you can utilize the water in the village, using a stream and water which is available, very free, you don't pay anything.
And in some places, water is very near the ground. When you just
dig just a few meters, just from a well.
Get a simple pump.
Yes, simple pump, and you start putting the water into the ground. I've seen in Impeka where water is just passing through their villages. There are some NGOs have actually done some canals, maybe even some villages have done canals where those canals, water is just passing through the villages. But that water dries up, no one even does anything about it. You just find Mr. Piri by the corner there just trying to grow some few potatoes and a few tomatoes.
Just for home consumption.
Just for home consumption. But the water is just being wasted. I've seen actually even, for example, certain areas where during rain season we've got too much water flowing all over here, but no one uses that water. No one even thinks of harvesting the water.
Yes, exactly.
Water harvesting is a very serious business in different countries where you harvest water and use it in the dry periods. Exactly. But here we just watch it, and you find that sometimes you're walking by the Zambezi River. I went to Xioma a few weeks ago, and I was passing through the tar road. The Zambezi River is here, and I saw a maize crop there rooting. Meanwhile, water is just a few meters
away from the field.
From the field. So you tend to wonder to say, what are they waiting for? So that means that maize they're waiting for the rains. But meanwhile, there's just water by the what there. So in terms of people, leasing boreholes in our country, I think I have not heard of that. Because I think people have really not really gotten into that. Because, we've got several water bodies. Maybe if it was a desert, we would have heard that, no, here people are, leasing boreholes here and there. But currently, the numbers of people that are looking for boreholes to lease, I don't think there are many people that are doing that, or maybe many companies or even organizations, leasing out their boreholes. But I think the information here is that there are so many water sources out there. The most important thing is look for it. Sometimes there's still people that would want just to be in an area for years, but meanwhile, when they move from Katete, you go to Chipata. You can easily go and set up your base in Chipata where there's water and start farming. I've actually seen quite a number of farmers have moved from southern province. Of late we've been having droughts several years. But I think some farmers have actually moved away from southern province. They have gone to northwestern where they have seen that there's a lot of water. They can easily farm and expand their their areas of production. So it's just a matter of trying to think that when you are from this town to go to another town, you don't need a passport. You need a passport to leave Lusaka to go to Mongu or Chipata. No. You don't need a passport. It's just a matter of having your transport to get on a bus and you find yourself there and go into the villages and talk to the people. I want to start farming. Where is the water source? Talk to the villagers. The village admin, the chiefs there, they'll be able to give you free land there. Of course, maybe sometimes you can agree on some terms and you can start your farming out of that. So it's just a matter of just, opening up our minds and trying to also look at other places.
So when you actually look at that question, that would actually be a good business for certain companies where if there is a farmer with a good piece of land and say, okay, we're going to sink a borehole for you. And once you grow these crops, after maybe we split a percentage or you start paying back from
the produce there.
From the produce there, that would be actually something good that people would actually look at.
That's very true. I mean, Mr. Japao, I mean, we've seen certain businesses coming from the scratch. So people don't even need to start scratching their head to start thinking of such kind of business. But I think it's a very good business because, I mean, it's a very good service. There are so many farmers out there that are looking for water. And if you have a borehole, a company that has done a borehole, or irrigation system, things like that, it's just a matter of agreeing with the farmers. Okay, grow this crop. When you harvest, this is the arrangement that we can get our money back. Things like that. I think that can be a very, very good business for some people.
Very true.
So some of you that are thinking of getting into business, I think that can be a very good business for you.
Any messages? The country needs to reopen or reintroduce RUCOM industry for us to add value to our products in Choma.
What is RUCOM?
RUCOM, well,
rural community or something like that.
Okay, but I think the idea is gotten there. Mr. Mwenda, what is that?
All what we want.
Mr. Mwenda, all what we want is such info. We want connections to grow.
Things to export.
Things to export. Land available
in Chama. We want such farmers to really get in touch with us so that we can actually connect them to some places. I mean, it's the most important thing is before you think of exporting, first of all, you need to sort out your home.
Yes, exactly.
Because if you are failing to just take to a nearby Choppies in Chipata, how can you manage to export to Israel or these other countries? It becomes very difficult. So the most important thing is that let's sort ourselves out at the local level where we are able to satisfy our market. And then thereafter, we can now think of exporting. But I think exporting is a very good thing because you are able to gain foreign exchange. I think I don't know if you saw it, when one of the white farmers was actually exporting avocados to Europe.
Oh, yes.
At a very, very good price. And I think what was key is that the farmer was able to wait. They had patience to grow the avocados for a good number of years to see it, being taken, into another country. But I think it's also important for our farmers to start planning in advance. I think this is the right time for them to start planning to say, where are we going to export our produce in the next 3-4 years from now? We are seeing a lot of countries, it's a thank you to President HH, is really opening our country and all the ministers out there. The most important thing is that when you see an influx of, international dignitaries coming into your country, it means that, some of them are coming to see opportunities that are available in this country. And very soon we'll see a lot of industry coming out of here because, right now this is an incubation time, but in the next year or two, you see some of these agreements and all these things, taking shape. But we need our farmers to be ready. The next time you hear that, next time we need farmers to export some tomatoes to some country because, there are so many things that are happening. COVID has brought in a lot of issues where certain areas they were not able to farm because they didn't have the capacity, to do so because of the diseases. The disease that took place.
The global supply food chain supply.
Yeah, the global supply food chain was actually reduced because of some of those challenges. And even the war now in Ukraine and Russia also is exposing the world to so many things where...
You find when you're relying on imports when it comes to food,
then it becomes a big problem.
Start starving.
Right now in our countries, like Botswana, they have done some importation ban where they want to encourage their farmers to actually start growing their produce locally. The same thing has happened to Zambia where I think with onion. On the aspect of onion, they said, where no one should bring in onion into our country. We want our farmers to grow, but our farmers ready. We are saying they have to be ready because this is an opportunity for them. And very soon we'll be told to say, no, we need this onion to be exported to some country outside. Our farmers going to be ready. Right now we are saying they're not ready, but we feel that they're getting there, step by step.
Yes, actually when that ban was introduced, there was a shortage of onion, but now I don't see it anymore. I think we are
stabilized a bit.
People, I'm sure, saw that there's an opportunity here, and they started growing onion, and with that they increased the production, which is
it's good. A good
I think it's the same with the mealie meal. If we can only manage to feed the country and have surplus to export, I'm sure we can't even be seeing these export bans on,
it's true.
On certain
it's
products.
Very, very true.
If you have excess, when It's very
yeah. So then I think I also want to share in terms of the value addition aspect. I mean I don't know if you're aware about the green maize business, huh? The green maize, the fresh green maize.
Which one is that?
The green maize, the green cob.
Okay.
Certain farmers have actually grown the green maize. For example, they grow it off season. You grow it off season.
Okay.
For example, you grow it maybe just after the rains, maybe say April, May, somewhere there. So when you grow it that time, it means by this time around you're going to have a fresh cob of maize. So that fresh cob of maize, there are certain farmers that are just doing roasting. They'll just roast by the side. They will have, you see the model of talk time. Huh? We've got both in different areas. This is a multinational company using both in different places where they are now selling talk time in the booth and things like that. Why can't we have a situation where this farmer has planted different, can you call them hawkers, street guys that are going to be selling your maize, roasting on the road?
Vendors in proper kiosks.
In proper kiosks where you're having, I can imagine seeing when you're walking just before you reach a certain shopping mall, you find someone, having the green maize now being roasted, just by the entrance of that particular place, just by the corner. So you can be selling quite a number of them. So it means you have also added value to your actually green cob. I mean the maize. So imagine one cob, if you one cob you're selling it at say maybe 8 kwacha. I mean those particular areas they're quite expensive. Even if you sell it at 10 kwacha, you see people buying, 5 kwacha, 10 kwacha, depending on the size of the cob. I can imagine even just the boiled maize itself, where you even find a cover to cover it, maybe to be a plastic envelope or things like that.
In Europe, they call it corn, and they even add butter to it. Just boiled maize.
Yes.
They just add butter, and they sell it in shopping malls.
And it's very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
So why can't we do that? At least we need, some farmers now to start doing that and gain more value from such kind of things. Just because, most of the farmers, they just complicate their mind. They think, doing farming unless you have this much capital. But even just buying a 2 kg, for example, Sidco has got a 2 kg bag, a 2 kg, bag of maize that someone can easily buy at a very affordable price. And they start growing that at the backyard. And they have to start selling there with their neighbors.
Definitely, because I remember growing up, we never bought vegetables, because I think Mom would grow a lot of vegetables in the backyard.
In the backyard,
and neighbors would actually come and
they even buy.
Yes,
they buy from there. So we need to. Those are the ones they are calling urban gardening, where you have gardens, just at the back of people's homes, and that can also be an income. Imagine, for example, you are staying maybe around Kawata there, where there are a lot of flats and a lot of houses around, and maybe you're fortunate enough your house has maybe a small piece of land. You grow your vegetables there. So imagine maybe you're on a flat, and you've got so many families on top, and you are down. Imagine if you have got fresh vegetables and they are ready. You've produced organically. You can produce them organically, and tell them, fresh rape, tomatoes. They will not even be going to the market. They will just be coming to you and buy. And that's just money that you can actually pocket. So now you can even add the value to that by putting it maybe in some plastics. You have some tomatoes that you put in maybe 3 or 4 of them at 10 kwacha. And you can imagine just from a small, the size of this room here, how much money you can make. It's quite some good amount of money. Sometimes we don't even need to think too much, but we can just utilize the resources that we have and make business out of it.
Definitely. So let's read a few last messages before we close off. In the 80s, we had companies like Lions, Cooper Harvest. These companies manufactured products using local produce. I feel we need to restrict some importation until we develop the local sector. Mpundu Kitwe.
Yeah, I think Mr. Mpundu is right. I think this is what the government has done, where some importation of onion has been stopped and things like that. But I think we need to see more of that happening. But then we also need to start looking at ourselves to say, are we really ready to start making these bans? Because when you ban, for example, the importation of maybe wheat or things like that, do you have sufficient stock to support the market? So it's very important that we need to also look around ourselves and see which product we can actually ban, we restrict to import, and which product we can actually open up to the world out there. So I think we have a lot of opportunities right now with the stabilizing of our kwacha. So it means that now that the kwacha is stabilizing, this is an opportunity for someone to import something. You can actually import a serious machine in China. You find that you have less kwacha to put in because the kwacha has gained some value. But when it goes somewhere around 17, 18 again, you find that we need more kwachas
so
to buy.
This is actually the chance
this
that
is the chance
people
for
can
farmers can utilize to get products like that. And apart from that, let's just get ready. Most of our farmers are just growing because my neighbor started growing yesterday, then let me start. But we don't need to do that. They need to get the right information from the right people with the right organizations so that they know exactly what they are doing, and then they even know the specific market where they will be able to take their produce. That way, the agricultural value chain will really be supported to the full. And of course, right now we've got so many farmers that are growing different produce from different areas. They don't have transport. We need as many people, business people that can buy canters to start ferrying the tomatoes from the market to the, from the farms,
to the
from
market.
the farm to the market. We need a lot of them. That's also another business that comes out of agriculture. So it's a serious value chain, but each chain has got different benefits that the farmers can actually, or maybe the business people can actually benefit.
So we just have to find what's missing in that chain.
What's missing in the chain and fill up the gap. Then we'll move forward.
Okay, so any last remarks for our viewers before we close off?
So the last remarks to our viewers is that the farming season is starting. I think for those that are thinking of getting into maize and things like that, this is the time for them, because it's not good to start thinking about farming 1 month before the rains start. So this is the right time for them to start getting into different agro shops to start buying this maize, because right now most of the companies have taken their maize there, the maize seed there. And apart from that, we also need as many farmers as possible to start growing different types of vegetables, because the market prices are very, very good. For tomato, for onion, I think consistently we've been seeing onion going for over 200 kwacha, for quite a long period of time, just for a 10 kg bag. So I can imagine if you've grown quite a bigger field. So let's see a lot of farmers growing that. Even rape is also a big business now. A bag of rape, some of it at some point even goes at 150, 200 kwacha. So that's also another good business that the farmers can do. But again, apart from that, let the farmers get the right knowledge. It's very, very important. Farming is now like someone is just using a vuvuzela to announce, let's get into farming. But let's get the right knowledge so that we know exactly what we are doing. And then at the end of the day, we'll see this business as a meaningful business to everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us again. We'll call upon you in the future.
Thank you so much for this time. But I think I'm sure it's important that the farmers out there should actually send some messages on the next topics that we can look at. The agriculture is very wide, so we can actually look at different topics in that line, and then we'll be able to share more. Thank you so much for the viewers out there today.
You have been watching Camnet TV, the economic briefcase. Make sure you save the same time next week. We're yet to have another interesting guest. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.